Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you ever wake up feeling, I don't know, just a subtle kind of unexplained heaviness? Or maybe you scroll through your phone for a few minutes, right? And you put it down feeling somehow worse, not better.
Yeah, that's familiar.
What about conversations? Nothing dramatic happened, but afterwards you just feel completely drained. Or you sit down ready to focus on something important and your mind feels like it's just wading through thick mud. It's a weird feeling, right? But common.
It really is.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, you've really put your finger on something incredibly common there, but it's surprisingly under-discussed.
Right.
What you're actually experiencing, most likely it isn't a clinical thing like, depression or anxiety in the formal sense. It's more an accumulation of what we can call mental trash.
Mental trash, okay.
And what's really insidious about this internal clutter, is how invisible it is. It's sort of designed to operate just beneath your conscious awareness. Yeah, slowly kind of poisoning your clarity, your capacity. It often pretends to be, normal thoughts or just everyday worries, harmless distractions even. Sometimes it's clever. It disguises itself as like productivity or social connection, even self-improvement sometimes.
Wow.
So by the time you actually notice its impact, it feels like it's already, everywhere.
And the scale of it, when you look at the numbers, that really hits home. We were looking into the sources for this, and this one statistic just jumped out.
Which one was that?
The average person today processes something like 5 times more information than someone did back in, 1986?
5 times. That's huge.
5 times. Think about that. Our brains are just drowning in input.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of it is just, it's garbage. Cognitive debris.
Absolute garbage, yeah.
Useless opinions from strangers online, manufactured outrage that's literally engineered to keep us clicking.
Keep you hooked.
Exactly. Endless comparisons on social media that just make you feel inadequate. And just this recycled anxiety about stuff we genuinely cannot control. All this unnecessary mental clutter. It just piles up way faster than our minds can reasonably process. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here, especially when we connect it to, how our brains actually function, this internal chaos is so much like a cluttered physical space.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Imagine your own room, right? If it's just overflowing with stuff, it feels overwhelming, doesn't it?
Totally. Hard to think.
Exactly. Hard to think clearly, hard to find what you need, definitely hard to feel calm. And our sources really talk about how this translates directly to our mental state. This kind of overload, this constant exposure to negative or just non-actionable stuff. It pushes our cognitive load way past the optimal point.
Right.
Researchers even call it attentional fatigue. This internal noise, this mental trash, it does the exact same thing inside our heads. It makes everything harder than it needs to be.
Everything. Like what?
Like deep focus. Or even just feeling, at peace. It actively gets in the way of the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain managing attention and regulating emotions.
And the impact then, it's profound. It's not just about feeling a bit off, is it? This psychological residue, it doesn't just make you feel bad. It actually subtly makes you weak.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
You find yourself becoming reactive. Instead of thoughtfully responsive.
Knee-jerk reactions.
You're focused, just
fragments.
You're scattered instead of really engaged with something meaningful.
Right. Distracted easily.
You end up consuming endless content, scrolling, watching, instead of, generating your own creative ideas or solutions.
Consuming instead of creating. That's key.
And maybe the most tragic part is underneath all that noise, all that mental trash, you can actually start to forget who you really are.
Lose touch.
Yeah, but this is the hopeful part we found. Once you can identify this psychological pollution for what it actually is.
Once you see it.
You can absolutely start the work of cleaning it up. And that's something we'll definitely dig into more.
Yeah, absolutely. There are ways.
So after this kind of initial look, what does this all mean for you listening right now?
Well, the good news is,
when you really start the process, cleaning out this mental trash, the change can be truly profound, honestly. Your natural energy starts to come back.
You feel lighter.
Yeah, lighter. Your focus sharpens up. Creativity starts flowing much more freely. It feels less forced, less friction.
Decisions start coming from a place of actual clarity, instead of just confusion or that reactive impulse we talked about.
Yeah.
You genuinely begin to feel like your authentic self again, like the person you were before you got buried under all these layers of mental debris, the person you're actually meant to be.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's really important to get this. This isn't about achieving some kind of, mythical state of perfect mental cleanliness.
Right. It's not like zero trash ever again. Exactly. Just like dust settles in a room, mental trash will always try to accumulate. Internal noise happens.
Okay.
The real key is developing the the awareness, that sharpness to recognize it quickly when it starts building up.
By catching it early?
And then the discipline to actually remove it before it takes root. So building sustainable habits for keeping that mental space relatively clean.
So it's ongoing work.
It is. Think about someone you know, maybe, who seems genuinely at peace. You know the type. Someone who isn't constantly rattled by every news alert, doesn't seem to need endless validation online.
Yeah, someone who can just sit quietly without immediately grabbing their phone.
Right. What you're likely seeing there, it isn't some special gift they were born with. Our sources really suggest that state often comes from a mind that's been systematically, intentionally cleaned out. A consciousness that's been actively freed from all that unnecessary cognitive baggage. It's achieved through deliberate choice and consistent effort.
Choice and effort. Okay. And that really leads to the final thought here.
Yeah.
Because that's precisely why your mind is just the most powerful tool you will ever have, period.
Absolutely fundamental.
It's the lens, right? The very lens through which you experience absolutely everything, your entire reality. And when that lens is dirty, clouded by all this internal noise, this mental track, well, everything looks distorted. Grim, maybe, or just plain overwhelming.
Skews your perception.
Totally. But when it's clear, reality starts to look far more beautiful, far more full of possibility than all that mental garbage would ever have you believe.
A completely different world.
So the choice ultimately is yours.
Yeah.
It really is. You can keep carrying this mental trash around, let it weigh you down, cloud your judgment, keep you from being who you're truly meant to be.
Or you can start the intentional work of cleaning it out, piece by piece, thought by thought, until your mind becomes what it was always designed to be, clear, powerful, creative. So here's a challenge for you today. What's one piece of that maybe obvious garbage as you start thinking about it, like mindless scrolling, or maybe those draining conversations? Just one thing you're ready to ruthlessly cut out, starting now, to begin reclaiming your mental space.